So, what does it mean to be transgender or transsexual? I don't know. I don't know. Looking at my eyebrows. They're a bit more of a shape now, don't they? But they're still so thick. They're so thick. So, just ate some food. Fulfilled one of my biological needs. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tuesday man.
I have an appointment on Tuesday.
Oh, Monday, huh?
Tuesday.
Oh, not
Why?
Monday man.
No.
Wednesday man.
Wednesday I gotta go to the job center.
Okay.
We go Thursday or Friday. Thursday.
Monday நான் இங்க போலாம் நான் ஒலிம்பி பார்க்க ஈஸ்ட் சொல்லுவோம்.
Okay. I'll go. Yeah, we can go next week or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait, I was just talking to my mom about going to the art gallery. I think she wants to go some other time or something. Anyway, yeah. So I've been thinking about this whole, like, oh, my stomach is so fat, and I ate it. Oh, God. Man, I hate that. You know, stop doing exercise. So anyway, what did I say? Yeah, what is that? Oh yeah, that's right. It's about fitting in. Where do you fit in? Why is this identity thing so important? Why is it so important to me to know who I am or where I fit in? I don't know. I don't know if it's possible for me to fit into anything or... the gender identity is extremely important to me because if I'm going out, I don't want people to treat me as a man or a woman. I mean, obviously that's what people know the gender to be. It's like, there are men and there are women, there are boys and there are girls. There are certain ways of treating them. I'm talking about the majority, like the common person is view, And I want to be treated as a woman, a girl, a female. That's how I want to be treated and perceived from the perspective of the common person. I'm not talking about the minority, elite people who have knowledge about, who are educated and, who have this, who would question such binaries and who are open to different gender constructs. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the average Joe and Jane. From their perspective, I want to be seen as, I don't know. It's not from their perspective. It's more like, it's gonna be very confusing if we don't have male, female. If you walk out of the street, people generally treat you a certain way based on your gender. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, to be honest. But it does happen. Like girls get treated different from boys. You know, it's just we even look at each other differently. We just look, depending on how we present ourselves. And we can present ourselves. There's race, there's gender, there's class. All of that is part of the social. What it means to be a social being or animal, or So yeah, so me being a social animal, I want to be perceived as female and treated as female. So insofar as that goes, having a body that accords with the female archetype or whatever, having breasts and feminine face, a voice is a very important marker of gender. More than anything, I think if I have my voice is more feminine, people are going to perceive me more as feminine. So that is an important thing. So I don't really want to change society so much as I want to fit into the gender role of. I mean, that's not true. I do want to change society, but I can't wait for society to change. I have to go along with the flow of time. I can't wait for society to change to whatever I think. I can't wait for society to accept me or validate me. I mean, I have to do my own part to fit into certain roles or certain categories, So, anyway, so I don't know. I don't know what transgender. Yeah, I mean it seems to be like a contested term because what transsexual means, basically it means if you were born one sex, assigned as a gender, you're transitioning to a different gender. I don't know if you can transition to a different sex because a chromosome is always going to be what it is, but you can certainly medically augment your body or manipulate the body, like breast growth, soft skin, hair stuff, and surgery if you're going that route. So that's what transsexual means. I mean, it's changing their body. Transgender means it's like more like an umbrella term or whatever. Transgender is more like a. It seems to. They say it's an umbrella term, but it seems like it's more like a sociological thing, whereas transsexual is referring to someone who's actually doing something to their body, whereas a transgender person may not necessarily do something to their body, may not undergo hormone therapy. But anyway, I mean, to me, I personally think, transitioning is, very important. I personally think hormones are very important. I personally think voice is very important. Yeah, makeup and clothes are okay, but I think the most important thing in transitioning is hormones and voice. And yeah, for some people they want to go surgery, but I think for me, I personally think surgeries should be more like an elective, not a necessary thing. Like some people might opt to go surgeries, boobs and bottom surgery, but I think that And so for some people, they seem to want it a lot more than others. But so I mean, but if you don't have a lot of dysphoria with your body, I don't think the surgery is that necessary because it's very risky and stuff. So yeah, just talking about the whole gender thing. Yeah, it's important to for me. It's like transitioning is yeah. So, yeah, sometimes it's like confusing. It's like, what? I guess what I want most is validation, and I want to fit in. I want the validation and approval of others, of my peers. So I guess that's what one thing I am sort of thinking about is like, is there such a thing as a transgender or transsexual community? And do I want to be a part of this community, or like, will this community accept me? What do I have to do to be accepted? I mean, it's that whole thing about fitting into a community. I mean, I do, relate a lot to transgender women, because I can relate to, because they're in a very similar thing to me, they were born with male parts, assigned male gender, and they're female and feminine. So I can relate to them. I mean, when I see these videos and they're talking, I get sort of like, I can have a. It seems like there is this kind of bond or something. It's like I can understand their jokes and their frustrations and stuff because I'm sort of have those same issues myself. So yeah, so I do want to be a part of the transgender, transsexual community, and I'm sort of like anxious and worried that I might not be accepted because I'm not transsexual enough or transgender enough, or I'm not this or I'm not that. So it's this whole idea of like, am I good enough to be a part of the transsexual or transgender community, or is there such a thing as such a unified community, or is it really? I don't know. I would like to be a part of the transgender, transsexual community. I think that would be nice to be a part of, a community like that, where for some reason this gender thing seems to be very powerful. I don't know about you, but gender identity is extremely powerful. I guess if you did not have dysphoria, you wouldn't understand it because perhaps you just take for granted, oh, I am a woman, I am a man, I don't have any of these issues, So maybe you take for granted, if you were born female and you were assigned female gender and you were happy with that, you didn't have any dysphoria, you would, you're taking that for like a given, but for some people it's like no, they're not comfortable with their assigned gender, and I guess it's hard to convey how important gender identity is to a person's sense of self and sense of well-being or confidence. If you do not have gender dysphoria, if you do not have, if you don't have gender dysphoria, it's hard to convey how important gender identification actually is. A person who was born male sex, assigned a male gender, and who was happy being male, they might just take it for granted. Or it's the same thing for a woman who's cisgender and who's happy, and they might not appreciate how much confidence and how much sense of self and self-worth they might already have just because they don't have any issues with their own gender. Like they might not have a conflict. Now, I'm not saying being a woman is easy or being a man is easy. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if if you don't have any conflict, like if you don't feel the unease or like the sadness or the confusion or the desire to be this other gender, if you don't feel those things, then you know, you might not really understand why it is important for a transgender person to, why gender identity is so important to them. Because your whole sense, a lot of your sense of self, confidence is tied to your gender, how you interact with people. There's a lot of that. I do feel it's a very visceral kind of thing or something. You know? And you feel like in this place where you're confused, like, oh, you know, I don't want to be treated like a guy. I hate that shit. Wish I was a girl. And, you know, if you're like that, you're like, you lose confidence. You lose your sense of self and you question yourself. And you know, it really it creates a lot of, you know, depression and anxiety. And it creates a lot of self... you know, problems with the self, problems with your psychology, personality. It just creates a lot of problems because of the way you are in your interactions with the world. Is like there's something like wrong. It's like you're not comfortable with that way that people are perceiving you and expecting you to be, or you know. Anyway, so gender, identity is important for transgender people, and you know it's important for everybody. But I guess if you don't have gender dysphoria, it's hard to understand how important it is, because you have always been comfortable with your gender. Or, I'm not saying it means. It's not saying being a man or a woman is easy. It's just more about the internal lack of contradiction that exists in people who are cisgender, who are not transgendered. They don't have that discomfort or tension. Man, I gotta lose weight, man. What the hell? I gotta start doing exercise.